Right. Okay, so hi everyone, and thank you for joining today, first of all. What you're going to hear today is just about some thoughts and research I've been doing while basically helping customers and companies all over the world and through multiple industries in facing cybersecurity incidents. And basically, it's going just to be some random thoughts, nothing very new, just my point of view on what companies are doing good, what companies could do better, and what are my suggestions for everyone to just leverage what we already have to improve on incident response. So, without waiting, if I'm able to switch my slides, perfect. This is the boring part. So I'm Giorgio Perticone. I'm from Italy. I'm currently working as a team lead in detection and response for AI. A few of my colleagues are here today, so hopefully, if the talk is good, I will still have my job after this. I've been also helping the Science Institute as a teaching assistant for their incident management course. I have a little podcast of mine on YouTube, which if you if you're interested, you could search for. I've been a contributor for quite some different communities around Italy. Maybe you don't know this. If you know, that's great. And little fun fact, I'm also a digital nomad, which is an interesting thing to say during a security conference, because if any of you comes to me after the talk, and the first thing that you say to me is, oh, nice being a digital nomad, then I know if you liked my talk or not. Let's say it. Let's go to the hopefully interesting part. This is just a very general agenda of my talk today. I'm going through three main points. First of which is, what do I think that companies are doing much better in the last few years in terms of incident response? What they are not doing as good as they could, and finally, what are my suggestions in order to improve on those topics. First of all, let's go with what's the problem. So I've been, as you do, reading a lot of reports from multiple companies. This specific information is taken from the Mandiant and Trend report from last year. Didn't read the one from this year, didn't have the time. This is basically telling that the industry has got much better in identifying incidents. So we are basically just in the last 12 years, we've gone from more than 400 days to 10 days in identifying threats in our environment. So this is technically a good thing. We have more than 90% of improvement here, even though I agree with you probably that this still is not enough. You have to admit that this is a pretty big improvement. Probably we're going into the right directions, and we are just going to be better and better in detection, essentially. Now, the reason why I think personally this is happening is that, we have a lot of technology that we can leverage, both commercial and open source, and a lot of also knowledge that people are building inside companies on also building internal tools as well. We have a lot of people working in security operations, which when I started was not that that normal, honestly. Now every company has their own SOC, or they're paying some kind of outsourcing or managed services. I do think this is a great thing that we kind of take it as granted right now. And finally, the bad thing is that one of the main reasons why this is going down as a metric is that a lot of the incidents we are facing are perpetrated by ransomware gangs, which means they are basically telling us that an incident is going on eventually because they are going to ask for money to get our data back to us, or maybe just to decrypt our own system. So there are two different reasons why, but still the fact that we are at least aware of the incidents going on in our environment, I think it's a good thing. Now, the other metric that I want to, briefly speak about is what CrowdStrike called the breakout time. So essentially the time that takes an attacker to go from the initial foothold in your environment, so the very first system that is going to compromise, to eventually lateral move to something else inside your network. Now, why this is important? Because first of all, the moment they already got access in your network, it's probably, let's say, too late. You already want to be quick into identifying and responding to the threat. But the moment they are starting to lateral move, the risk that you are facing is much higher than before. It's not just the single system that you have to, rebuild from scratch or fix or whatever. You don't know how many systems they have already compromised. You don't know how many parts of the network you're going to fix and rebuild. And the efforts that is going to take you, it's much higher than before. So we really ideally would like to intervene somewhere in the middle in those two steps of the kill chain. Now, once again, I think the main reason why this is currently just around 1 hour is probably because most of the attacks we were, investigating and analyzing something like 10 years ago were really stealth attacks, where the attacker really wanted to not be detected. They were waiting a lot of time from a step to the other so that they could pass without trace. While today, if we have a cyber gang, which final goal is actually to tell you, I breached you and I want some money from you, they want to be as fast as possible. They want to reach their goal. They want to gather your important data and eventually, ransom you because of that. Now you can see how the correlation of these two parameters is a little concerning. So it takes us as an industry 10 days to detect the average incident, and it takes an attacker just around 1 hour to, cause a substantial damage to your company. So even though we really like to show good metrics, and there was a talk this morning that I really liked, it was talking about metrics and was mentioning this. We should focus on something that it should let us improve and do better. So the reason I'm mentioning this is because I feel like the industry is not focusing as much as we should on remediation. So to actually doing something when we detect the incident. Are we actually thinking about how to contain the incident? Are we actually thinking and focusing on how to eradicate the attacker in a comprehensive way after we detected it? I don't think so, and in my experience, a lot of companies out there are not doing this in the best way possible, even though the tools, the resources, the knowledge is already there. It's not something that we still need to develop. It's just a problem of processes in place, of people not knowing exactly what to do, or just feeling pressures from other aspects of just the daily company work. Now, that being said, let's just go through some of the options that, as I said, we already have that we can use. And this is going to be for both detection and I'm going to focus especially on containment because that's, I think, a crucial part that we're missing most of the time. So first of all, detection-wise, we can have multiple sources of detections, and I'm going to divide them into two macro categories, internal and external sources. We have internal sources when we also have, let's say, an employee or a user of the company reaching out to the security team because something odd is happening on their device. I don't know, they maybe received a sketchy email, maybe they found about a black screen popping up on their device while they switch on their device, or something else that is not really working as expected. And I mean, that's a good thing. If we trained our users to actually let us know about it, it's a good thing, but most of the time it's not really the best reliable source of detection. And for that reason, probably all of you have a lot of different systems inside your environment, which are aiming to give you a list of different alerts to let you know about any misfunction or suspicious activity or behavior in your systems. We have XDRs, NDRs, EDRs, CMs, antiviruses, and you name it. And those are, most of the time pretty good, in my opinion. It takes a lot of time and efforts to actually deploy them well and to actually be able to use it in the best way possible, but still are, generally speaking, the most reliable source of detection. Now, for what it takes, the second macro category, what I called external sources, we may have third-party organizations reaching out to us because something has been identified on our systems, on our data, just on our surface. We could have just a partner of ours letting us know that they received some weird data, or once again some kind of error on their side, and they think that we may have been compromised. That's the case of what we call supply chain breaches and incidents. Or we may also have law enforcement reached out to us whenever maybe data has been already filtrated. Law enforcement is monitoring the internet for company data, and they eventually identify it for us. Now, once again, it is a good thing if someone else is also contributing to our overall detection system. The thing is that if we are waiting for that, it's probably already too late, because that is already being infiltrated, or our system was already compromised so much that they could also move laterally to further environments outside ours. And that is, I'm sorry, but too bad. Finally, the worst case scenario is that our source of detection is actually the attacker itself. We mentioned it before. Ransomware gangs want to ask a ransom to obtain that money that they want. So that could be our last opportunity to detect an incident. But that's really the moment where we cannot do much about it. So this was just to give an idea of the fact that we will probably rely mostly on the internal sources compared to the external ones. And the reason is pretty simple. We want to be as fast as possible in detecting the incident. And the reason is that the quicker and faster we are in detecting the incident, the more time we will have to actually be able to analyze, scope the incident, and contain and eradicate eventually. Now, moving to the main topic of the talk, talking about containment, we also have multiple options. Again, nothing new, something that multiple different tools and brands out there let us do is use automation. With automation, I mean setting up thresholds and rules and parameters in order to automatically apply some actions that will contain the overall incident. We're talking about isolating hosts, isolating networks, servers, or just removing individual files if they are suspicious for some reason. And we also have, of course, manual intervention when we don't want to rely or we cannot rely on automation. And we need every time to ask an individual operator in our security team to go in, log into the system, make sure to comprehend what is really going on, and eventually take a decision and remove the file, disconnect the network, or whatever. This was in terms of velocity. So, of course, I think you agree with me that automation is going to be much faster than the manual activity most of the time. We're going to talk about what are the issues with it and why we are not all and every time using just automation. When it comes to precision, we mostly have two big options. The first one, most of the time, we have a lot of agents installed in our systems that let us do endpoint isolation or lockdown, which means we identify that a specific device is being compromised, and then we go and precisely isolate only that device so that only the device is being impacted by our own isolation. So we are not, messing up with too many users in our environment, and not too many people will be mad at us because of that. When it's too late, otherwise, when that breakout time has been already reached, the attacker is already jumping multiple systems. Therefore, just isolating a single host is not enough, and we are forced to isolate multiple hosts individually, or at some point completely disconnect an entire subnet or entire network, or just, we all know that in the worst case scenario, they maybe compromise our domain controller or something. If they got access to that and we need to isolate the domain controller, then a lot of users are being impacted anyway, even if we are acting on a single device. Now, once again, just to summarize, we have multiple options, but in terms of velocity, we would and should prefer, in my opinion, to use automation as much as possible, and we want to be also as precise as possible, so to let's say limit the impact that we are having on our own systems. So now you're probably asking, yeah, we know about this. What we can do about it? Why everyone is not doing it? I don't know if you ever asked yourself the question. Maybe in your company you are great and you're automating everything and you're very fast and you're identifying every incident out there. The thing is that in my experience, maybe, I may be biased, but, hundreds of companies out there are not doing it. And I think I've been, identifying a few issues and a few reasons why they're doing this. And one of these is the fact that we are putting security and business continuity on two different things that are not going the right directions. Generally speaking, the business continuity teams in the companies don't want us security people to isolate things and shut down system very easily because it's a risk. Because of course we are so limiting our company, business time and revenue if we are shutting down services that are providing to our customers. This is indeed a risk that we need to take into consideration, nevertheless, I think that we need to have the kind of communication inside of our company and make everyone understand that security and business continuity actually have the same final goal, which is make sure that the company has no big issues in terms of continuity of our systems. Because if we are isolating something nowadays to prevent that tomorrow I will spend weeks and weeks, rebuilding everything and, still having business down for a while, I think everyone will be happy if everyone will understand this. Now, what's the, solutions I'm personally suggesting to do this, which I don't see companies doing, even if probably everyone is aware of it, is to implement something that I called a business criticality rating. So this is being called in multiple different ways out there, depending on the framework you're following, depending on the person you're speaking with, or the law or certification you're going through with your specific company in this industry. But basically, what we're talking about is just identifying systems in our environment and identifying the risk of the systems being down for 1 hour, 1 week, potentially even multiple weeks, and how that is going to impact our environment and our business. So basically saying, speaking, how much money is our company losing if that specific system is going down for a certain amount of time. If we have that, I'm not saying that this is a simple thing to do, but, if you start, eventually you will have, a decent amount of system being identified and score. If you never start with that, you'll never have it. If we have that kind of information, then we can separate those systems that are very critical for our business and systems that are not actually that impactful if they are down for a few hours. if we have that kind of distinction in our system, then we can decide to apply automation on those systems that are less critical. Therefore, the risk in using that automation is much lower. And maybe even more important, we can let our security team and our professional people to actually spend their precious time on the most critical systems, so that they are not wasting much time on investigating every single laptop that has suspicious behavior going on. I think this is theoretically a very simple thing that no one or almost no one is really implementing there. But if you start from just identifying the most critical systems, especially if you're not too big as a company, I think this is going to make a big difference and will let you leverage all of those great tools that everyone is building, but no one is really using. Now, the other problem, I think, is for many cases and many scenarios, the lack of authority inside the security team. So what I'm talking about is that I've been working with countless cases and companies where we actually identify the threat. We reach out to the customer, we speak with them, we determine what are the next steps, and then just no one does anything. So why is that? The reason is that if I'm talking just with technical people, most of the time they are just scared to do anything because, okay, what if this is a false positive? Okay, if I'm being scolded tomorrow by my CEO because I did something and that was actually an executive laptop, I'm going to be appointed like the bad guy here because I'm doing something. This is really happening very often. So no one is taking the decision. And the other problem is, what if you cannot actually take the decision? What if you are the analyst inside your environment, but you don't have any practical means to go in there and take the actions? The only thing you can do is to escalate this, reach out to your SOC manager that has to reach out to your CISO, that has to speak with the executives, and eventually going down to the IT team to actually identify the system and then do something about it. Maybe they have to travel to another site to do the activity, and that's him forever, and then ransom is already there. So these few things are basically everywhere in every company I've been working with. One thing that theoretically is already there, few companies are already doing, is appointing what I call an incident command role, not because I invented it, it's already there, but it's mostly used by companies related to IT incidents, but not security incidents. So whenever your systems are down because there's a bug or something that was pushed in production, and they have a full team dedicated to it, but this is not as often being replicated in the security team. So this kind of role, this kind of person, I believe should be hopefully not a people manager, because people managers have a lot of things to do, a lot of meetings to run and people to manage, so don't have much time to dedicate to every single incident that is happening in the company. It should be someone technical enough to understand what's going on, but not technical in terms of they have to run the incident response itself. That takes a lot of time. You have operators doing that. You need someone that is going to supervise the incident and then helping take decisions that have to be taken. They have to act as a relay between the technical team and the CISO or the executives to make them understand what's the risk that the company is facing and why a decision was taken, because that's the last thing. I believe this role should be nominated and appointed from the very beginning with the authority of taking the decision of shutting down that central domain controller when it's too late. Because if it's too late and you're waiting still, much more, take the decision to rebuild that Active Directory, that's just going to be worse for your company. So you need someone that can take the decision and can then justify later on that with the executives. So explaining this was the risk. We were risking to have the potentially company down for countless days, and just putting that down for a few hours, we made sure that nothing was wrong with it, or we actually catch the bad guy before it did even more damage to my company. Once again, it might be like this was something very clear for everyone. That's not what I see on a daily basis working with a lot of companies. If you are luckier in your organizations, you're already doing all of this, kudos to all of you. If you are already doing your company, then we probably should put more effort into helping the other organizations doing something like this, because they are not doing it as well. That was really it. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to me. If you have any questions right now, I'm happy to take them and hopefully be able to answer them. And if not, I'll be around for the rest of the conference, so feel free to reach out. Thank you. Any questions? Yes?
Do you have any tool or service that you would recommend for managing instance?
So there are actually a few of them. While doing this research, I found them. I don't personally have any special selection, okay? And that is especially because if you are building this from scratch as a role and capability in your environment, you want to understand what works best inside your specific organization. And if there's a tool out there that already fits exactly what you're doing, that's great. But if you need to start from what tool do I need, then probably that's not the right thing to do. Either you are already doing incident management and then you want a tool to simplify it, and that's a thing. But if you don't have incident management in your environment, you're just doing either technical stuff or management stuff, then you start with the process and with the people. And then if you want to optimize it, my suggestion will be search for a tool later on. Yes?
Just a little bit, who would be the right person to push this towards like the board to get on board with understanding the problem and they bring the right action, the right people to do that program or to do that function within the team or within the organization?
So if I got the question right, who is the right person to, actually run that incident management program? That's the point of my talk is I don't see that person being there at all, right? I think that's most of the time someone that you need to hire on purpose or identify on purpose in your organization that can completely switch from what they were doing before and do something new that wasn't there before, right? And then once again, it depends on your organization because many companies have CISOs, many companies have no CISO at all. Some companies, the CISO is doing also some technical stuff. He's also maybe the SOC manager. In other companies, just, talking with the C-levels and they don't have time to, just talk with technical people. So, maybe you need, let's say, someone in between. Maybe you already have someone that has the time to dedicate to it. Most of the time, I've seen where, companies have maybe the SOC manager being also the incident commander. But the thing is, what if the SOC manager is already, busy doing something else? Because if you look for the agenda of a SOC manager, the average SOC manager is already full. They need to cancel things to start doing something else. What I'm talking about here, having someone who actually has the time that for each incident of a certain priority and criticality in your environment can review it, understand what's going on, and decide, okay, this is something that doesn't need any containment or any, big containment and we can go on, or this is something where I should start, maybe supervising something. So once again, I know it's not really satisfactory, but it depends. Yes, please.
Do you have any tips or advice for metrics collection in incident response? Like any KPIs that are important or tools that you use to collect things like time to react?
So, once again, I'm not inventing anything from scratch, but in terms of what you are already measuring before, or if you're not measuring anything so far, you probably need to start with how much time do I dedicate to, or do I take to actually identify an incident, and what's the percentage of incident I'm actually identifying and I'm actually just, passively taking. And then after that, you should, as I mentioned at the beginning, focus on containment and remediation. Because once again, I think pretty much all the companies out there are making some efforts in identifying incidents, maybe because of compliance, whatever. The important thing is that you're actually doing. But then you need to measure your capability to actually do something to slow down the attacker and eventually completely eradicate it. Because that's the thing. I've seen the same thing on and on again. Either you rush into, I want to say to my CEO that there's no problem anymore. So I take that first machine and I format it. I rebuild it from scratch. Okay. Now you feel safe, but if you really scoped and investigated the issue so that you are 100% sure that there are no other 10 systems in your environment where the attacker lateral moved on. So maybe you don't have to rush to that one. And at the same time, you want to do some containment, something that is slowing the attacker while you have the time to investigate. And then if you measure the time to detect, the time to containment, and eventually time to eradication, then you can work on those to, of course, get better and better every time. But first of all, you need to make sure you are going through all of the individual steps one after the other, and you're not really rushing into, okay, I want to come to the end of the meeting saying, oh, I already solved the issue, because that's not how it works. I hope that answers the question. Yes?
If you go back to the previous slide, yes, when you say security teams are empowered to autonomously contain so I'm not sure empowering the teams, security teams to autonomous start with the solution. Because in my experience, the security team will action, reaction, whatever is okay, but I think that it's better not having security teams doing this operational stuff by itself. But I think that we should work more on the coordination with other teams. Because I think that we should have different levels. Like, you have IT operation, security operation, and then you have security control, security monitoring. So I'm not good on that.
So, well, let's start with, I kind of agree with you, right? But once again, it depends on which organization we're talking about. I know why you're asking this. In a specific region, we could have, kind of the same hierarchy in most of the companies. And then you have security silos, the IT silos, and the operation is being done by IT, and the detection part is being done by security. What I discovered is that it's not always like that. Okay. With the security operation terminology, you could have security teams where there are two sub-teams, engineers applying things and just people looking at detections. And then somewhere in the middle, you have the incident responders doing, something in the middle. So it really depends. I mean, I agree with you. I don't want the same person doing everything. That's not going to do it. In my, I know this is very general. It must be deployed in the specific context and scenario, but my really real suggestion here is to introduce a new person that is inside the security team as an organization, not the detection team, right? But as an organization is inside security. This kind of not really daily operations, not looking at detections, not doing the actual investigation, not applying the remediation, but actually being there, okay, so that the technical people can go to him or her and ask, okay, I think this is bad. What do we do about this? Okay, let's review this. What do you think? I'll get your input as a technical person. I'll get I'll talk to the person or the employee who raised this in the first place, and I'll consider, okay, what is the risk at stake, right? Should I, start the process and involve the people, and talk to legal, and talk to communication and marketing, and start everything? Or I think, you know what? Let's do some more investigation first, and then we'll, circle back to that in 1 hour or tomorrow or whatever. It's more, I want it to be free to work with the security team on a daily basis, but not to be the security person running security operations, if that makes sense.
So I'm with you on that.
Right.
It's not a simple matter, but
Right.
the line is the same.
Yeah.
It will go on the security team. So this means that it will be in charge of the
Yes.
technical stuff for understanding
Yeah.
not only on the security side,
Yeah.
working on like support breaches, whatever.
Yeah.
And after that, we just the coordination with everything with levels, whatever. I think this is a key role, and having this role inside the security team, is that you have the power to things at the end.
I mean, it should be. That's the point of all this. Yeah, that's the point of all of this. It's good if you have the role, but then if that person is not autonomous in taking the decision at the right moment, then, I mean, it still makes sense that it's not really using all its potential. Because that's the, while you, as the, head of security or CISO, are away doing something else because you are going to be away doing something else, can that person take the decision by itself? That's the real point here. Because if you need to wait for the person to come back from the C-level meeting that will last, I don't know, 1 week at kickoff or whatever, that's too late.
I'll just add some to the conversation. I think somebody slows down in and outside the security. There is a lot usually of cross-functional skill set. So if you are the AD guy, all the power you want, and I come from security wherever, I'm trying to space something, in order for you to apply the change, you have to understand me. Then you gotta have someone that is on both,
Absolutely.
with one foot of both shoes, or that it's forever. People don't just trust you to make the decisions on a segment that is not owned by.
That's the thing. Do they need to trust you, or are they entitled to say to you, you need to do this now? I understand this is not simple. This takes a lot of work, a lot of efforts, but that's the thing. If you need to discuss and convince people to do something while you think that we need to do this now, that's already too late to have that kind of discussion. You should have the discussion first. You should clarify for everyone what's the role of that person, because if you don't have this to discuss with the head of IT if to do something that they are asking you to do, because he is already entitled to do so, right? And I'm sorry, we can discuss this. Just because they are looking at me very mad, they are helping, but they're usually too slow. We cannot wait for that. We cannot wait for regulations and then start to do something. Yeah, but that's the thing. That's actually slowing down during the incident response process. I have to alert someone else. I want to do operations in my company first, and then communicate that with third parties. I mean, they help because they are making me rush in doing this, but that's actually slowing things down a little bit. Thank you so much.